Sketches of Life. Peeping Dale. Name That Stank. The scene is a game show featuring 3 contestants and a host. The set is well lit and non-threatening. It contains a long table standing about 4 feet off the ground. All 3 contestants are standing behind the table, evenly spaced. The host, Chase Chasendale, is a well-dressed, well-coiffed, deep-voiced man with a big, handsome smile. The contestants are, from left to right. First, Dale Schmidt, our friendly, neatly dressed neighborhood pervert, wearing a golf shirt, dorky khakis, and a very genuine smile as usual. Second contestant in the middle is Lindsay, a young attractive woman dressed more like a slut than a wholesome housewife. Our third contestant is Frank, a happy-go-lucky guy in his 20s who looks like an overgrown frat boy. The announcer, voiced over, says, "It's time to play the game where the naughtier you can smell, the more you can win. Are you ready to play? Name That Stank." The audience, of course, chimes in on the last 3 words and cheers wildly as an upbeat little ditty plays over the applause, and Chase Chasendale energetically enters the stage. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chase Chasendale, and we're back for another exciting week on Name That Stank, where contestants are asked to identify bedliners that have absorbed the stench of a dazzling variety of lewd and depraved encounters. Now let's meet the contestants. First, a junior accountant from Tacoma, Washington, Frank McNeil. Audience claps briefly. "Great to be here, Chase," Frank says. And next, we have an entertainment lawyer from Miami, Florida. Please welcome to the stage, Lindsay Bellini. Some more applause and maybe a few catcalls from the guys in the audience. "Hello, Chase." Lindsay, as an entertainment lawyer, you probably see your share of characters. That's the kind of background that can come up big on Name That Stank. Lindsay gives a long, seductive stare to Chase. "I've seen it all, Chase. I've seen it all." Chase then sighs and, sounding unenthused, says, "And our returning champion for the 7th consecutive week, the all-time winningest player on Name That Stank, junior high math teacher from Chicago, Illinois, Dale Schmidt." Despite Chase's lackluster intro, the audience claps wildly for Dale. He politely acknowledges the crowd, but doesn't say anything particularly of importance. All right, let's get ready to play the first round of Name That Stank. Jennifer, if you will. Jennifer is the bag girl. She brings out the first sealed bag containing a bedsheet. She looks thoroughly disgusted by this job and holds the bag at a distance, trying to maintain a fake smile as she awkwardly drops it on the table surface in front of Frank. "All right, Frank, you have 10 seconds. You know what to do. Name that stank." Frank cautiously opens the bag and then raises it towards his face to smell it, being as cautious as possible. By the time he gets it close to his nose, the 10 seconds is up and a bell rings. Frank is mildly disgusted, but managing to tolerate it well enough. "Time's up, Frank. Do you have a guess?" "I smelled some perfume. Definitely a woman. I think a man and a woman who made love?" "That's correct. 100 points to Frank. For an additional 100, can you name that perfume?" Frank takes an additional sniff and then says, "Sorry, I can't place it." "Certainly doesn't matter, Frank. You're in the lead with 100. First one on the board." Audience claps. "Lindsay, you're up next." Jennifer then trots out with another bag, holding it as far away from her nose as possible and dropping it on the table in front of Lindsay. "Start the clock at 10 seconds. Lindsay, name that stank." Lindsay opens the bag, and within 3 seconds the smell hits her like a ton of bricks. She retches, gags, and falls to the floor. Nobody comes to her assistance. Chase smiles broadly but tries to contain his pleasure. The bell rings with an incorrect buzzer. "Time's up, Lindsay. Do you have an answer?" Lindsay hasn't even gotten up. She's still gagging and doesn't respond. The incorrect buzzer sounds. Oh, that's too bad. 100 points up for grabs for anybody who wants to give it a try. Chase, I'll take a sniff of it unless Frank wants to first. No, you go ahead, Dale. You go right ahead. Dale casually takes the bag, raises it to his nose, and very indifferently inhales a deep breath of the same stench. He stands still for a second, almost like he's trying to pull the taste out of a fine wine before spitting it back in the bucket. This is predominantly a homosexual encounter. 3 distinct male fragrances with corresponding ejaculate. The correct bell sounds. That's correct, a homosexual 3-way encounter. And for an additional 100 points, can you identify any additional odors? Yes, a dog has also slept in the bed, but the canine notes are not strong enough to suggest the gay men engage the dog in any bestiality. The bell sounds. That's again correct. Very impressive, Dale. One of the gay men was a dog owner. Dale, you are now ahead 200 to 100 to 0, and it is also your turn. Jennifer comes out and drops a bag at his station. He smiles at her. She reciprocates for a split second, then turns and walks away as quickly as possible. As an aside, Lindsay has recovered enough to get back to her feet, but she is too weak to stand on her own and has to use her elbows to prop herself up on the table. Thanks, Jen. He opens the bag up, takes a nice long inhale, ponders the stench briefly, and the bell rings. 10 seconds are up. What do you got there, Dale? Chase, this smells like some classic Badissi. Heterosexual couple with a light anal contact. The correct buzzer sounds again. That's correct, Dale. Very, very, very impressive as usual. And of course, for the bonus points, can you identify any accessories? This is a 200-point bonus. Dale once again raises the bag to his nose and takes a nice big whiff. I'm detecting another synthetic polymer. Wait a second. I'm sorry, I guessed right, but I imagined the scenario wrong. The polymer is a dildo, and the fecal contact is male. In addition to intercourse, the woman deployed a strap-on dildo to penetrate her boyfriend. The correct buzzer sounds again. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but you've been doing it for 7 weeks now with no sign of letting up, with a commanding lead of 600 to 100 to 0. We begin the lightning round. I'm sorry, Chase. I'm out. I'm not sure why I thought I could compete with Dale, Lindsay says as she staggers away. After 7 weeks, I don't know why anybody thinks they can compete with him. Alright, Frank, it's up to you to knock off the king. Frank looks terrified, and Chase shakes his head. Alright, let's get this over with. Another smaller table is brought out by 2 assistants, and it contains 5 more sealed bags. Lightning round begins with the second place contestant. Each stank is worth 400 points. Frank, you'll have 2 minutes to guess as many spells as possible. 2,000 points on the table. Whatever you can't answer, Dale will have an opportunity to guess. Set the clock for 2 minutes. Frank is trembling as he walks up to the table. Frank, your time starts now. The countdown is on. Frank opens the first bag, and the smell smacks him in the face. I'll come back to that one. Frank opens the second bag, and the stench hits him even harder. He is down for the count, almost falling over. I'm sorry. I give up. And we have yet another tap out. Our winner for the 6th consecutive week, breaking his previous record of 6 weeks in a row, is Dale Schmidt. The audience claps wildly for Dale, who comes over to the podium to receive his handshake from Chase. Now that you've won, you've guaranteed yourself a spot in next week's contest, where I'm sure you'll win again. In accordance with the contest rules, though, you can win an additional $5,000 for each bag remaining that you smell correctly. Are you ready to go, Dale? Absolutely, Chase. Dale goes over to the table and surgically dismantles each bag in rapid succession, taking one sniff, giving each one a second thought, and then answering. First bag. A man with 2 women. Correct buzzer. Second bag. Lesbian couple with fruit. Again, the correct buzzer sounds. The third bag. 3 men, 1 woman, no anal. Correct buzzer again. Fourth bag. Just a napping cat. Once again correct. And the final bag. Dale takes a sniff. 1 man. Masturbation and Doritos. The correct buzzer sounds for the 5th time, and the audience goes nuts clapping for Dale. 5 for 5, and possibly the most impressive depravity detector in the history of mankind that's not attached to a dog. You must have a very sick and depraved sex life to smell so much soul-crushing filth with pinpoint accuracy. How do you do it, Dale? I haven't had sex with a woman in 15 years, and I've never had sex with a man, Chase. Making it even more impressive, so how do you do it? Chase, you really don't want to know. Chase joins in the laughter. Actually, now I really would like to know. Frank then comes over to shake hands with the king. Yeah, I'd kind of like to know that too. Oh, I'm sorry, that's all the time we have for today. We'll have to tune in next week to try and get some more secrets out of the master, and of course see Dale compete against perhaps some police dogs or some other kind of non-human robot smell-sensing machine that could possibly match him stench for stench right here on Name That Stank. Audience chimes in on the last 3 words, clapping wildly as the scene fades to black. Recorded May 15th, 2013.